Okay, we're back. One second, let me. Sometimes you have your notifications off, and the next thing you know, your notifications are on, and that's the challenge that we have. All right, and that's off. All right, so welcome back to MECYS Matters. It's been some time. I did take a very extended holiday break to make sure that I could recover and come back with updates as necessary. I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday season. I also want to take this opportunity to say um, all the best to everybody for 2026. The year is off to a heck of a start. But of course, here at MECYS Matters, we start off with one thing, which is the hot drink and hot take. The hot drink is actually a Chat Saigon Vietnamese instant coffee. I tried this once when I was in Orlando. I visited an Asian supermarket, fell in love with it, and now I am only able to get it when I go there or if I order it on Amazon. Um, and yeah, I truly enjoyed when I don't really have the time to sit and make coffee properly in the coffee maker in the office. So today this will have to do. Um, so that is the hot drink, and the hot take is actually I thought about it as I was listening to someone was telling me some questions that were being asked, I guess, on the radio or whatever about the ministry, and I said, when you didn't pay for the glass house yourself, it's easy to throw stones, and I think that's the only thing I kind of want to say about that. Um, but so yeah, hot take: when you didn't pay for the glass house yourself, it's very easy to throw stones. It's easy to break things that you yourself have no part in building, or that you maybe had an opportunity to work on or build and squandered it. And that is going to take us, after I take a sip, into the word of the day. So if you're new to the live, you're just joining me on this vocabulary building journey. I changed up the word of the day towards the end of last year, and I made it so that we. Hold on one second. Bring the mic a little closer. Yeah, I made it so that we not only have the word of the day in its definition, but we also have a fun fact about it and its etymology. So, where did it come from? This is, of course, brought to you by Merriam-Webster Dictionary. And I'm interested to see this year if they're going to add new words because last year you'll have noted that I mentioned that they added 2,000 new words to last year's updated edition of the dictionary. So let's see what 2026 is going to bring. So today's word I found pretty funny: fiduciary. Um, why I found it funny. When I was in Parliament, I used this word when we were talking about the central bank and the whole Enya Mullet Bay conundrum. And when I used it, people were like, "What does that even mean?" And I had to explain it back then. And it's a word that I know, not just on a regular, but in general from my time working for a trust company, global trust company in the Netherlands. So fiduciary is an adjective. It is a formal word describing something relating to or involving trust, such as the trust between a customer and a professional. It's spelled Fiduciary. And if you want to get into the more technical definitions, it's of relating to or involving a confidence or trust, such as held or founded in trust or confidence. A fiduciary relationship could detail a bank's fiduciary obligations to customers, holding in trust, and depending on public confidence for value or currency. So fiduciary, fiat money, which is the dollar, your guilder, etc. Um, so yeah, where it came from is, as I mentioned, fiduciary relationships are often of the financial variety, but the word does not, in and of itself, suggest money-related matters. It actually applies to any situation where one person justifiably places confidence and trust in someone else, and it seeks that person's help or advice in some matters. So even attorney-client relationship, for example, is a fiduciary one, because the client, of course, trusts the attorney to act in their best interest. And it can also be used as a noun referring to the person who acts in a fiduciary capacity. And fiduciarily or fiducially, you're called upon if you are in need, of an adverb for that. So yeah, it actually traces back to the Latin fider, which means to trust. So that was the word of the day, fiduciary. And I used it because at the time, one could have said that the supervisory board of the central bank of Curacao and St. Martin, as well as the bank itself and its director, had a fiduciary responsibility to its customers. And its customers are essentially the countries that it serves as a central bank to. So, yeah, fiduciary. Um, we also had started off last year with the game of the month. Um, and this year, well, this month actually is an oldie, but definitely a goodie. And that is Assassin's Creed 2. So I had it in my library for some time, and I decided to take a break from Assassin's Creed Shadows and go back to one of my favorite games in the series. It's actually the second game, and it's so funny because going over just how big this universe is. There's 14 main games, a few spin-offs, comics, novels, etc. And Assassin's Creed 2 introduces us to our second legendary assassin, which is Ezio Auditore da Firenze, and continues the story of Desmond Miles. And it's one of my favorite games in the series for several reasons. One, Ezio is a bit of a bad, you know what? He's a cool assassin. Very like very nonchalant, a little bit arrogant, but very confident in his abilities. Two, the game takes us to the beautiful architecture and landscapes of Italy, most notably Florence, Rome, etc. There are actually two games that follow Ezio's life following Assassin's Creed 2, which is Assassin's Creed Brotherhood and Revelations. Or is there, I think there's a third one actually. It also continued the real trend of introducing real-world historical figures and blending them into the Assassin's Creed story. So Leonardo da Vinci, Rodrigo Borgia, the Borgias in general. And three, and this is a fun fact, it actually did so well. The graphics improved so dramatically from Assassin's Creed 1 to Assassin's Creed 2, digital rendering of popular landmarks such as Il Duomo and others, and even their codex info. So they actually started embedding historical info, timelines, etc., of these landmarks that you had university and high school students using the game to learn while also playing the game. And I think that kind of started my fascination with how story-based games like Assassin's Creed could actually teach kids about history, etc. And we see this replicated really well in Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which dealt with, for example, the slave trade, and then Assassin's Creed Unity, which was not a great game, but when Notre Dame had that fire, they actually used some of the digital renderings from Ubisoft, which is a French company that makes these games, that develops these games, to kind of plan the restoration of Notre Dame. That's how high level the actual rendering in the game is. So yeah, Assassin's Creed 2, a tale of betrayal, redemption. You work to avenge crimes against your family, usual Templar versus assassin stuff. But it's one of my favorites for those reasons, and just an overall cool game. Maybe next month I'll go back to Grand Simulator because I'm pretty sure by now I should have some honey from the bees from last time. So right, getting right into updates from MECYS in general. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the fact that we had a very rough end start of year in terms of culture and sports. We of course lost a few persons. Mark Marshall from the library, Mr. Hamza Richardson, amazing baseball player. Don Froston, who's going home ceremony is actually today, and of course Carlos Van Hannigan. And I want to send again in this medium condolences to all their families, and colleagues, past, present, on these losses. So it was a few heavy blows for us in terms of sports legends, our culture and literacy, icons. It's gonna definitely be a difficult time for everybody moving forward. But much strength through this difficult time, and may their memories keep you guys in comfort. And going on then to the updates. So Marie Genevieve the Weaver, last we spoke, there were still some classrooms that needed to be reopened. I'm happy to say that they have been. So all students are back where they need to be. Now the further repair and installation of spikes for the pigeons, which are the biggest cause of the issues that we see in terms of um, the ceiling tiles, nesting issues, etc. That's now going to continue. Um, so yeah, I'm very happy and pleased to DPE and all who contributed to it, where the students can be back in their classrooms. And then what I had, we had actually a pretty big. We had a MECYS public school staff meeting. Um, it was very productive. I have to say, it was uh, a bit emotional at times. Teachers are stressed. Teachers are very stressed out in this country, in every country, to be honest. I also make it clear that what we are faced with here. It seems like insurmountable because we're a very small economy. We're a very small um, country and community. So it seems like we're not able to overcome, many of the challenges that we face. But everywhere, whether it's big or small, um, is facing many of the same challenges that we are facing in education. Especially and particularly within the kingdom. When I went to Aruba last year, my counterpart, ministers from Curacao and Aruba, every time I mentioned, yeah, we also have a challenge of maintenance, and they were like, yes, yes, same. So that is something I always try to highlight, not to say that it's okay, but that it's good to know that you're not alone when dealing with these particular challenges. So I'm looking forward again, as I said in this public staff meeting, to get together and find ways to overcome these challenges. One thing that definitely came out of that session, and I said it before, parental involvement. Um, well, parental involvement was a running theme, and then we also had a few brave souls that mentioned, that did a little self-reflection for teachers themselves. That you can expect all you want from students, but you also have a responsibility to them. When it's tough to do that type of exercise with yourself, but it is important. But parental involvement, I think, is the most critical challenge facing not just in Latin teachers and students, but everywhere. Um, it's come to a point where I even said it publicly. You had school boards and teachers in public schools mentioning that parents have attacked them. Parents have become verbally abusive towards them, and there are reasons for that. I guess we have a lot of social economic challenges on Sinmat, but I never believe or agree that those are a reason to be disrespectful. Because what you do is you teach your children that it's okay to be disrespectful, and then they are disrespectful and violent towards teachers, and then why we have school bus fights, why we have fights in general, why we have bullying problems in our schools, whether public, subsidized, or otherwise. And I think that it kind of leads to the necessity for a larger community conversation on how we want to continue to see St. Martin develop and grow from a population perspective, from a socioeconomic perspective, and of course from an education perspective. So that was I thank the teachers again and all the staff, sorry, and school managers for participating in that meeting. I was very um, I try to be very open to all of the feedback, all of the input, and yeah, parental involvement most definitely ranked as the number one concern. While self-reflection for teachers and what they are doing in terms of lesson planning, are they meeting their own targets, their own objectives, to make sure that at least they meet students halfway. Um, are the two key takeaways that I had from that meeting. So once again, thank you to them. We actually continue tomorrow, I believe, with another meeting on follow up on some different topics. Then we have the youth cabinet launch. Oh no, let me double back a bit. So also along the holidays, I've had the pleasure of attending the church service and the ringing of the bell ceremony for the Orania School's 175th anniversary. 175 years uh, the Orania School has existed, and I'm very happy and honored to join the students and to see as well their talent. They did Chico's class did a very cute song, and one they had like these inflatable guitars, electric guitars, and one of those kids was really good at sound. That's definitely going to be a rock star somewhere in the future. That's like you got to pop out. So very much enjoyed that church service and the ringing of the bells, which was in itself a bit of a workout because you have to kind of time it right so that you're not flipping the bell over. Um, but congratulations again to them, and thank you for having me and for giving me the opportunity to address those data as well. We then also have youth cabinet, as I mentioned. Our first meeting date will be February 12th, I believe. Very much looking forward to that. So that will be next week. Very much looking forward to that. Most secondary schools have provided names for students that will be representing the school as part of the youth cabinet. As I mentioned before, the intention of the youth cabinet is to actually embrace and involve directly youth voices when it comes to policy and legislation coming from this ministry at least. So very much interested to hear what they say. If you ever had a conversation with Teen Times or Leo Omegas or Rotary, Interact Club, you know that they have very high expectations for us as the adults and as leaders of the country. So I'll be there to take it all and then bring it back to you all with how their input is going to shape what the ministry approaches policy and legislation moving forward. I also had a note here about the robotics competition. I don't have the dates. I don't have the date specifically for that, but I one second. Yeah, I don't have the date specifically off the top of my head, but it is the OECS robotics competition, and I'm very happy that Bureau of Telecommunications and POS BTP stepped in to assist with getting the Simatin delegation to attend and uh, compete. And I it's part of their long term. So the Science Fair Foundation, as well as part of this, is part of their long term vision for improving STEAM and STEM access and education and awareness amongst the student population. And then we had so the EGRA and EGMA results. I'm going to have two presentations of it coming up. Of course, the Council of Ministers will receive a presentation on February 17th, I believe, and I've sent a request to Parliament to present it to the Committee for Education, Culture, Youth and Sport in Parliament on February 26th. So that will probably be broadcast, and so the public will be able to tune in and see the results that I've been talking about for themselves directly. So we're waiting then to, I think I sent that letter yesterday. So we're waiting to hear back from Parliament if that is a feasible date. If not, of course, I'll give the update on when you can expect to see me in the People's House, as they call it. A bit of a look ahead. Oh, wait, anything? Yeah, all right. So a bit of a look ahead. As I mentioned, with Marie Genevieve the Weaver, we now move to a longer term project with, for example, installing the pigeon spikes and other matters. And then there will also be tons of reference going out for maintenance of all the public schools so that we can kind of streamline those activities. And the ongoing projects, big projects that we have, of course, is the transformation of Curriculum Alexander, which is more to bring everyone up to par in terms of their training and development in special needs education, and as well the transformation of public education. And I know this has caused some concern, I think, in persons, um, you know, in the community. Uh, and elsewhere, which is interesting. But I'll be probably doing a more comprehensive update on what that means because I think there's still a lot of there's a lot of questions around it, and I understand that entirely. When I was in Parliament, I had asked the previous minister, what exactly was the intention behind the transformation of public education. This is a decision that was taken, I think, in 2016. Was that? Yes, so that was a USP lines or whatever situation, I think, and I think this was a decision that was taken then to kind of move towards the transformation of public education. But what I will do, because like I said, there are a lot of questions in the community about it, is I'll probably dedicate a section of the live next week to kind of go over the decision that was taken, how did we get here, and how do we kind of move forward. And that's a bit of a look ahead. We also have our ministry strategic planning session next week, Friday, I believe. This, of course, to set the strategic vision of the ministry for the next 10 years. So whether I am here or someone else is here, that is the baseline and benchmark document that will be used for policy development, and so forth. So that pretty much rounds up our updates for today and for this week. Next week, as I said, I will be back, and then I will talk about the transformation of public education a bit more as well about what we're doing at Prince William Alexander. And next week, we also have steering committee and World Bank meetings. So this is the update on what is going on with our projects. Oh yeah, and so that maybe I can give a bit of an update about that. So with regards to FRLP, which encompasses the projects of Cold Bell and the library and System Laurence, I think System Laurence will probably break ground February, March. That's the last update that I had, and I think I had said that as well in a few live streams back. I know not everybody watches it, so I'm hoping that whoever is watching it, you can also update your friend and your friend and their friend. That is the timeline for that. I'm very happy the demolition went without incident, and I'm looking forward to, you know, um, construction starting. Middle Region is a district in which I live, so happy to see that the school is going to be rebuilt. And then for Charles Leopold Bell and the library, I believe that we're waiting on something from the fire department with regards to the building permit. However, the tendering was done, and I think now the technical and financial assessment is being done to decide how we move forward with those contracts. But after next week, I'll have a much larger update on those projects, including the MMIS project, which is the Ministry Management Information System, so student tracking and so forth. So yeah, that's something that we can look forward to in the not next week, but the week after is live. So that was it for me for now, and I wish everybody a pleasant rest of the week, and I will see you back here on Tuesday. Have a good one.